I want to play a couple of clips for you, and then I got to get into this because I've been saying I would for a couple of hours, but I found this fascinating. Remember, I didn't give a pass to Jake Tapper yesterday or to Dana Bash. At the very least, I guess he was surprised at what he saw at the debate, which is laughable to me. I don't believe it for a second, but I think he's trying to restore credibility. And I find it interesting what he's doing now. But this is Jake Tapper. He's sparring with Senator Chris Coons. I want you guys to hear this. This is video clip number 6. Por favor, Eric Hansen.
I mean, he has given fewer press conferences, fewer interviews than any president in modern history, including the previous one, who's now running for re-election. And, this could all be...
And the previous one told more lies per sentence than any candidate has ever told on a debate stage.
This is not the discussion that we're having. We could certainly, have that conversation. I certainly didn't particularly care for it when President Biden said no U.S. service members had been killed in the previous 4 years. But moving on from things that were said that were not true, I think it is easy to settle this right now by President Biden going to the Brady Press Center, the press file in the White House, and doing a 2-hour press conference. Everybody would cover it live. Networks probably would cover it live. He'd answer all these questions. It's not a crazy thing to expect a president to do. And the fact is, that. The campaign knows that. The White House knows that. That's how you settle this. You just put him in front of reporters, and he handles himself with acuity, aplomb. We all see it was just a fluke. Oh, my God, I can't believe it happened, and we move on. The fact that you haven't done that says quite a bit to me.
Jake, what I've just said maybe 3 times in this interview is that is what I am urging and recommending.
Okay. Now, here's the deal. Jake Tapper has known this all along. Maybe he shared that with the administration. But if he shared that with the administration, why didn't he share that with you up until now? See, I just think this is a desperate attempt for the left to try to restore credibility. All right, let me get to this. And callers, if you want to call into the program, 1-800-655-6453. We're coming to you live from the ReliefFactor.com studio, 1-800-655-MIKE, 1-800-655-6453. Okay, so the logic in all the madness. Victor Davis Hanson writes, most Americans believe that it is unhinged to deliberately destroy the border and allow 10 million illegal aliens to enter the country without a background check, right? Means of support, any claims to legal residency and definable skills. And worse still, he writes, why would federal authorities be ordered to release repeat violent felons who have gone on to commit horrendous crimes against American citizens, right? We know the story of Jocelyn Nangare, Rachel Moran, Laken Riley. Consider how illegal immigration is going to impact or grow or fester crime. You have the administrative state or people on the left that will say, listen, illegal aliens or illegal immigrants commit fewer crimes than American citizens do, and that's not true. They don't track them. They don't know where they are most of the times, and they don't report, depending on where they are, all of their data to the FBI. So that is a complete and utter lie from the left, all right? And then schools. Your kids shouldn't have to compete in schools or compete for resources with illegal immigrants. What about hospital care? What about how illegal immigration is changing the culture? What about competing for rent, and homes with illegal immigrants? All of this is being done intentionally. And I'll get into why after we get back. This is Carl Jackson sitting in for Mike Gallagher. You can call in 1-800-655-MIKE. But illegal immigration is the first thing that they needed to accomplish. Then I'm going to talk about the debt. Stay tuned. All right, so what's happening here? The logic to all of the madness. There was even a story that EVs, if you will, owners want to go back to normal cars, 46% of them. There was that Chevron deference case, which I think was a really huge deal. I'm so glad the Supreme Court overturned that case. And all of these states, all of these things are about creating EVs. When it comes to EVs, that's about creating an administrative state. The Chevron deference case put a hole in the administrative state. Very, very important. All right. So now Victor Davis Hanson, he writes about illegal immigration. What is the left up to? Well, I'm going to share with you the things that they've accomplished, but let me just skip forward if I could in this column, and then I'll go back. I'll retrace it. But the fundamental transformation of America has almost been completed. All right. It doesn't mean you might not think it, but all of the foundations, all of the pillars, for the most part, the left has put in place. All right. So he says they're confident the changes that they have made thus far are of such magnitude that the United States would either become the infamous phrase of Barack Obama, fundamentally transformed, or what will happen is what the left will do is force the next Republican administration to adopt such tough medicine that it will prove untenable politically, and the malady would still prove mostly impossible to undo. That is the goal of the left, to move the country so far to the left so quickly, and then to have you get used to it no matter what you say, right? With EVs, we got to have, 50% of EVs on the road, despite the fact that we don't have charging stations, so on, et cetera, despite the fact that we're completely lying about them saving the planet, but we want to be able to control you, you know what I mean, by 2030, despite the fact that 50% of Americans are saying they don't want it. It doesn't matter. They make it happen fast. And if they can make it happen fast, if they can get you used to paying high prices for gases, they think they have you, because you'll become hopeless. You'll feel helpless. And then you'll just like, I give up. And that's where they want us. But we can't give up. We have to continue to fight. We're talking about the administrative state and how the left has implemented these rules, these radical rules that have fundamentally transformed America. And I do believe, I'm so glad that, honestly, I mean, we all knew it. We knew that Joe Biden wasn't there. Now it's been confirmed as of last Thursday, and the left is in an absolute panic. And all we can hope is that, listen, we're going to have to fight back, politically. We're going to have to fight back culturally and spiritually. I believe, in order to get this country back, in order to get this country on track. But it's going to take a Herculean task. If you think you're just going to be able to go vote in November and sit down, it's just not going to happen that way. We're simply too far gone. And yes, we are divided, unfortunately. But listen, guys, I hate to say it, but you got to kind of revel in that right now. We're not going to get along until we set things right, because the terms in which we're living under when it comes to the left, we're always going to be divided. They're always going to, tell their constituents you need to hate them because of A, B, C, and D. That's just the way that it is. Number to call in, 1-800-655-MIKE, 1-800-655-6453. All right, just real quickly before I go to the calls, remember, again, the illegal immigration problem is deliberate. So why would they do it? All right, it's for, to change the culture, to change demographics, to have a perpetual underclass. But the goal is to, like Victor Davis Hanson said, to make things so bad that it'll be hard to turn around, for Republicans to turn around, even Trump. And then you guys got to remember, okay, we want mass deportations. That is a must. That is a must. But I want you to understand, there's going to be 80 or 90% of Republicans that are going to be running for re-election, that, Lord willing, if Trump wins and then we retain the Senate, or we regain the Senate, and then retain the House and grow our numbers, a lot of those people are going to be listening to constituents, or they're going to be listening to Jake Tapper and mainstream media and Joy Reid, and they're going to be saying, oh my goodness, we can't do this. We can't deport this. I got to brace you guys for that, because you're going to have to be the ones that call in and say, if you don't do it, you're not going back. We're not sending you back to office. Consider the national debt. He writes, equally perplexing to most Americans are borrowing $1 trillion every 90 days, paying 5.5% interest on $36 trillion and increasing national debt. Serving that debt, he says that current interest rates exceed the size of our annual defense budget and may soon top $1 trillion in interest cost alone, or more than 13% of the budget just servicing our debt. Suspending military aid to Israel. Why would we suspend military aid to Israel? Why would we do that, or at least slow it by reports when they needed super fast, given the fact that they experienced a 9/11, that was even greater than ours, and there is no moral equivalency. There is no Palestine, by the way, but there is no moral equivalency between Israel, our allies, and Hamas. There is none whatsoever. So people that have been held hostage, sadly, raped and tortured and murdered. There's a moral equivalency. I mean, these are our only allies in the Middle East. And when I see Hamas attacking them, they're attacking the West. So why would we do that? Why would we promote the growth or the expansion of Islamofascism in the Middle East when we know that'll only come back to haunt us? And Victor Davis Hanson writes, because I didn't even know that this word existed. They want us to become a mendicant, or Israel to become mendicant, basically a beggar nation that comes to the United States on their knees, on bended knee. This is how despicable these people are. What about the Keystone XL pipeline and the drawing down the Strategic Petroleum Reserve? Why would the Biden administration and the deep state, why would they draw down the Strategic Petroleum Reserve? Why would they cancel the Keystone XL pipeline right away when we know that fuel is traded on the futures market, so on, et cetera, basically emboldening Russia? Why would they do such things? The goal is to fundamentally transform America to a point where we just can't, or we won't return, because we won't have the fight in us. And then they keep their voters dumb or misinformed. I'm not saying they're dumb people, but the left's goal is to keep them uninformed so that they'll and angry so that they'll continue voting Democrat. All right. What about weaponizing the DOJ against your political opponent? We see that Joe Biden has done that to former President Trump. Yet you have Sonia Sotomayor. You have people on the left that are saying the complete opposite, that, oh, yeah, if Trump gets in, he'll do this. Meanwhile, it's they that are projecting onto us what they've done to us. So why would they do that? Because anything that we do or our politicians do going forward, their voters will look at as, oh man, these people are this, these people are that, these people are weaponizing the DOJ, but they will never pay attention to the policies that their own party is implementing. And since they're not paying attention to those policies, the Democrat Party can literally just go further and further and further left. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're trying to make America take us to a place where we just simply cannot come back. That's what's happening under the administrative state with Biden as the figurehead. Let's go to your calls. We've got Carl M. in West Milton, Ohio. Welcome to the Mike Gallagher Show, coming to you live from the ReliefFactor.com studio. You've got the mic.
Yeah, Mr. Jackson, I just want to tell America that you can't bring an animal into the United States without putting it into quarantine for 28 days. Same way leaving the United States. There was an actor that had a commercial flight, and he went to Australia, and Australia found out that he had a little Yorkie in their country, and they told him, get that dog out of here, we'll compensate that dog. Here's the deal. You've got this administration. Remember when they put them buoys in the Rio Grande out there? Well, what they did was they moved in these big excavators. Now, an excavator, this is about a 400 or 600 Komatsu excavator, or John Deere. What they did is they excavated that area out where them buoys were. They took those buoys out, and they grabbed gravel, and they made a walkway.
Right.
And then they took a picture of those excavators sitting in that water in 4 foot of water.
Yeah.
Then they had the audacity to put those buoys back.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. They're sitting there slapping us in the face. That's a grounds for impeachment for even doing that. That waterway is there for a reason, to protect
it is.
So that those people just can't walk through.
Well, yeah, and listen, you're absolutely right about that. Unfortunately, we're going to have to It is frustrating, and this is part of the point, to overwhelm the system. Thank you for the call. It's part of the goal for the left is to overwhelm the system again, where we feel helpless and hopeless, and quite frankly, to get to a point where you don't even think about the border until something tragic happens. I mean, let's be honest. How many? I mean, I think about it daily, and I'm sure people that are listening to this. But how many people? This show, my Gallagher show. But think about how many people around you that perhaps don't think about the border as often, as frequently as you do, or in those terms, they don't understand how, illegal immigration will just totally destroy this country, destroy our culture. I mean, it's absolutely insane, but most people don't think in that way, sadly. And the left knows that if they can overwhelm the system, especially when you have a bunch of people, Democrats that are voting for the Democrat Party, that don't go to churches, they feel moral based upon what Democrats say. That's where they derive their morality from. So they know that they can get away with this stuff, and then they know that they can just continue to bash us over the head. Let's go to Bob. Bob is in Jacksonville, Florida. Bob, welcome to the Mike Gallagher Show. You got the mic.
Thank you, Carl. I appreciate you taking my call.
Yes, sir.
I called in for one reason, and another was just overriding, too. But I need some encouragement. I think there's a lot of people in our country that needs encouragement even to vote again. And my fear is the same thing's going to happen that happened before. Has there been enough changes within various states' legislatures to protect an honest vote? Where you take little Georgia, of all things, takes 3 weeks to count their votes. It's just it's a joke. And the second thing that's concerning me right now, after that debate, we need to have a congressional investigation of who is really running this country right now. Because that old man that's up there supposedly making decisions for this country is not capable of having a conversation.
Yeah, listen, and Bob, listen, just for the sake of time, I want to try to get another caller in. You're absolutely right. Listen, I'm going to be more encouraging tomorrow leading up to Independence Day. I want to give you reasons to vote, but I do want people to know absolutely what's at stake. And you're absolutely right. We need to know who's running the country. But right now, the goal is to overwhelm the system. Honestly, even this election stuff, they want you to feel like you can't win. Listen, guys, even when it comes to election interference, it takes more people getting out to vote. We can overwhelm the system ourselves if we just show up. Remember, the presidency, regardless of how you feel about 2020, was only won and lost by tens of thousands of votes in the swing states. So you got to get out to vote. You got to make sure your neighbor gets out to vote. You got to give people reason to vote. I mean, all you have to do is honestly have them take an honest look at America just in the last few years. It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, I can't believe it when I just look at this stuff issue by issue, getting rid of the Keystone XL pipeline, drawing down from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve for the sake of winning elections, making us more vulnerable, weaponizing the DOJ against a political, opponent. I mean, it's absolutely insane. The fundamental transformation of America is underway. And if people like living in liberty, if people like living in freedom, listen, I know it's going to be hard for some people to get over that hump and vote for Trump. That's our guy. That's our guy. And you're going to have to take them, tell them to vote locally. We just got to do it. We got to focus on if they hate Trump, fine. Focus on the policies. We got to bring people out. We got to be the enthusiasm. We got to be the encouragement because we got to take this country back. We'll be back. All right, welcome back to the Mike Gallagher Show. Basically, listen, the bottom line is the left wants you to get used to big government, essentially. All right, a centralized system. That's absolutely what they've been working on. They're doing it with an administrative state, trying to grow government largesse. Thank God the Supreme Court did. I mean, although I disagreed with a few opinions, for the most part, I think they put a dent in the deep state, and that's a good thing. I mean, everything from deficit spending, where they're trying to get you used to the idea of, just government just spending that's just completely out of control. You had Joe Biden that inherited a recovering economy. And listen, all presidents spent too much, from Bush, Obama, Trump, and Biden. I mean, it was Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich that managed to get things, actually Newt Gingrich, that managed to get things under control. But even that's an issue. But they want you to think, hey, money is just a construct. But for the left, listen, it's all been worth it for them. 100%. We have a 123% annualized GDP at this point. Debt levels, I'm talking about. They just want you to get used to this stuff, right? They want Israel to beg. They want oil and gas prices to remain high, so you're willing to move to EVs. This is what they're up to, and they're just making it so difficult that anybody that comes in, it's going to be really a Herculean task. I can't express that enough to turn it around. I'm going to go to some calls. I'm going to give you 30 seconds here because we got to wrap it up. But Helen has been waiting patiently in St. Petersburg. Helen, welcome to the Mike Gallagher Show. You got the mic.
Okay, Carl Jackson, you are the most show-prepped radio talker in any of the stations, and I love you, and ask Joe Widener about it.
Oh, thank you so much.
How many times I've called, but I want to tell you that in our Walmart here in St. Petersburg are hiring, I'm positive, illegal immigrants. They speak no English. You can't ask them a question. They can't even answer. They don't even know the number 10. Nothing. I am so ticked with all of this. I've got a daughter-in-law who came from South America. They spent a ton of money for her to become a legal.
Yeah.
She's done all the legal stuff. She speaks most perfect English. She went to college to speak. She has 2 or 3 degrees. She speaks perfect English. Her children are bilingual. They speak perfect English. And I am so ticked over this when I go into Walmart and you can't even talk to somebody that speaks English.
Listen, I am absolutely with you, and I think English should be our first language. That needs to be a goal. But again, they want to overwhelm the system, get you used to it. Don't get used to it. Keep on fighting. Let's go to who do we have here? We have Phil in Carson City, Nevada. Phil, you got to be quick.
Okay, hey, you bet, Carl. Thank you. I'm an 84-year-old veteran. I think legal American citizens really need to wake up what's really going on and control our country. The Marxist socialist agenda of George Soros being carried out by Barack Obama is taking away the foundations of what our country is all about. You know, we're losing our sovereignty. The recent elections in Europe, particularly France, show that they want to move away from the European Union. They want their sovereignty back. You know, we're a republic. And this giant centralized government is destroying everything that we talk about veterans, everything that our nation fought for to uphold what was right.
Listen,
anyway,
Phil.
I'm up. Yep.
We're just running out of time. It is a great call. Appreciate you calling in. Make sure you stay tuned tomorrow. We'll touch on some of those issues. I see Randy, you're out there. Why do people hate Trump? Listen. At this point, it doesn't matter. Make them love his policies. That's what's going to be important. Speak policies to your neighbors.